Okay, so on to the next priority request, man, and this is Ren Dominoes, and this is requested by Jason Abbott. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being a member of the Sphere. It's one of the perks you get from being a member of the Sphere is that you're able to place priority requests, and it's the only place I'm taking requests from. So if you place a request there every single week, it depends on which day. It's not going to be on the same day every time, but it will be on different days. I will go to that list of priority requests and I'll pick a handful and I'll react to it and I'll put it on YouTube, and that'll be a weekly thing. So yeah, just one of the perks of being a member of the Sphere. And also you get additional content when you are a member of a paid subscription of the Sphere. And it's quite cheap. It's like $2.70 is the price of a cup of coffee, and we add new content to the Sphere every single day. Failing that, if you guys don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. You also can go and join the Fable community. That's completely free, and you can engage with myself and the Cucumber Squad there. It's like a social media page. You create your own profile. You are able to post in all the different groups. You're able to create a group for yourself. Very cool. Ren, as you know, absolutely love this artist. I think it's fantastic. Never heard of this particular song. Dominoes. Let's see what we've got. Let's go. Loving the guitar already.
Oh, you built this like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. Oh, you built this like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. You build us up just to knock us back down. Funny how you act surprised when we hit the ground. We're like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling.
Hey.
So bleed me of all my self-belief. My smile shows all my insecurity.
My smile shows all of my insecurity. Is this a relationship song? To a certain degree, you built us like dominoes. You built this relationship like dominoes.
Funny how you act surprised when we hit the ground. We're like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. So bleed me of all my self-belief. My smile shows all my insecurity. In the kingdom of photoshopped kings and queens will never feel happy with ourselves, but insecurity sells. Dominoes, dominoes, dominoes.
Okay, this is not a relationship song. I actually think he's talking about society as a whole. In a kingdom of Photoshop kings and queens, we'll never feel happy with ourselves. So it's basically what you're seeing in society right now. Obviously, I mean, this is where Ren's going to go down. Why would he sing a relationship song like this? It's going to be one of the societal songs where he tries to slip in some sort of political nuances into it as well, which I think is just brilliant. He always does that. But this line is one of the most telling lines in society today. Is yes, we're living in the kingdom of Photoshop kings and queens. They're not actually kings and queens. We Photoshop them to be kings and queens. But that's how the system's built, right? The system's built around fakery, everything. And it's not just the Photoshop part. It's not just what you put on Instagram and what you're putting on social media that is fake. It is absolutely everything is fake. Everything. It is not. It's from your social media. And I think social media bred this to a certain degree. And I think that politicians then attached onto that because they lost them the working class vote because they don't deliver for anybody. And they are attached into people's insecurities and people's fears and all of that kind of thing. And they play onto that to create the divisions, to have everybody fighting so that everyone's distracted. So that they can still pursue their own interests and deliver nothing for the people, right? But everything is fake. It's not just the Photoshop kings and queens on social media. Social media is fake. The people on social media are fake. The money is fake. Like, your money is fake. Your stock markets are fake. Your politicians are fake. Your elites are fake. Your Hollywood elites are fake. Your activist movements today are fake. Right? It's amazing how fake. Everything is played into a narrative or into a political agenda. Nothing is in its true form anymore. It's all for the adulation and the virtue signaling and the, I'm greater and mightier than thou type vibe. Do you know what I mean? You hear a lot of people just talking and talking and talking and talking, and you'll often find that the talkers are usually more articulate than the doers, right? Since talking is their speciality. You know what I mean? And that's what you find online, which is just a whole bunch of talkers. That's a statement from Thomas Sowell, if you don't know who he is, an absolutely brilliant black individual who is unbelievably smart and erudite and articulate with his words. Such a smart man, and they don't give him the time of day because he's not a tool of the agenda that just spews what the rest of the progressive society wants him to spew. Right? Let's carry on.
Kingdom of photoshopped kings and queens will never feel happy with ourselves, but insecurity sells. Dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling.
Whoa, this beat,
Oh, you build us like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. You build us up just to knock us back down. Funny how you act surprised when we hit the ground. We're like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes.
It's like, why? Why is society failing? Why is everyone so unhappy? Why is all people feeling suicidal all of a sudden? Why is there a massive spike in suicides, a massive spike in unhappiness, a massive spike in insecurity, a massive spike in bullying, a massive spike in hate? Why? Right? Because we mold the one like a domino, and then all we need is for him to fall, and he, because he's weak, will fall on the next one, and that next one can't take the weight, and he'll fall on the next one, and the next one, and on the next one, and so it goes. And so society starts to tumble, as it is doing in the Western world very effectively. Right? So yeah, it's a great way to actually depict this is like dominoes falling. 100%.
Dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. I hide my head under the sheets, 'cause how can I face a world that ridicules the weak, where beauty is sold on the shelves, forbid.
Okay, so this line over here. Okay, so because how can I face the world that ridicules the weak? Okay, so that line over there, you are never ever going to change. This is the crazy like perception of sort of like our modern day progressive thinking, is that we can shield everybody from everybody else who are terrible people or who do terrible things, and you think that you can change people they honestly think that you can build a utopia. If we were able to build a utopia, we would have built it already, right? There's no recipe over here that you're going to build a utopia. There are bad people and there are good people in the world, and that is how it's been since the world began. You are never going to change that. You cannot shield people from it. You cannot bubble wrap them. You cannot put them in safe spaces, because you cannot change the way. You can't change humanity. You can't change the very foundation and fundamentals of humanity. There are bad people, there are good people, there are evil people, and there are great people, and it'll always be like that. It always has been like that. What you can do is you can build strong people who can bear that weight, right? Who can tackle the world for what it is, that cannot be knocked down. You can make them stronger. That's the difference. Unfortunately, not everyone is going to have the ability to be that strong, but that is just the way life is, unfortunately, right? The only successful strategy you have is to make humanity stronger, not weaker, right? Because we've got this all flipped around at the moment, where we say like, no. If we actually make men more docile, it's going to mean that we're going to create a more peaceful world. Not in your dreams is that going to happen. You are actually going to make a more dangerous world, right? Because you are still going to get the men who are going to come and try to destroy great things. You need stronger men. You need stronger people. You need to be bringing up strong, resilient people. anti-fragile people to deal with the hardships of the world, because those will never change, right? You cannot bubble wrap them. You can't put them in these safe spaces. There's nothing you can do about that. You can only make them stronger. And if you make them weaker, they will always be at the helm of stronger people, always. And it's never, ever, ever going to change, right? It's just how human existence is. So rather, when bringing up people, when bringing up your children, literally, I always say this: you want a warrior in a garden instead of a gardener in a war, right? Because what you want is you want them to have the capability, you want them to have the capacity for danger. You want them to be able to be dangerous, but then to control that and be peaceful, right? They must always exist in a peaceful state. But when they need to be dangerous, they need to have the capacity to be dangerous. Because if they don't, then there's nothing to them. There's nothing to them. There's nothing great or virtuous about being weak. So that's a very, very sort of like contentious issue in today's world, where it's like, in order to protect the weak, we need to make others weaker, right? You actually need to make as many as you can stronger, because the strong ones protect the weak ones. You're going to have those that are just innately weak, and you can't change that. But you need strong people. You need strong men, and you need strong people to protect those who are weak. That's how it's happened in society. Every single society that has had weak men, not only has the men been eradicated, the men, the women, the children, everything was taken by stronger tribes, by stronger communities, by stronger empires, it's just, that is how human nature is. There's no such thing as a utopia where everybody is good. You're always going to get evil. And the only way to overcome evil is by being strong. So that's my position, at least. Right. So I know some people will tell me, no, we should just make everybody docile. And that somehow is going to make the world better. Let's try that. We've already trying that. Look what's happening.
It's a world that ridicules the weak, where beauty is sold on the shelves, forbid that we find it in ourselves. And now I'm broke, it don't come cheap.
Oh, you built this like
Dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. Oh, you built this like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling.
Hey.
Yo, build us up just to knock us back down. Funny how you act surprised when we hit the ground. We're like dominoes, dominoes, dominoes falling. Araya was the most beautiful girl in this world. She shined like diamonds and rubies and pearls. But then, as soon as she turned 13, she forgot just how bright that it was that she gleamed. Stuck in the material world of magazines that glamorise fake and Photoshop beauty queens. Top 10 beauty tips making her feel inadequate. For the first time in her life, she felt ugly.
Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is an actual person that he's speaking of. I'm not sure if this is, knowing Ren, it might actually be a story of a real person. And yes, I agree with that. And what's driving a lot of that is social media. Social media drives a lot of that, a lot of the fakery that's coming through social media. I honestly, genuinely believe that social media should actually not exist not exist. It should exist, but I think that there should be an age restriction to social media. I honestly think that specifically in the more formative years, you should not be allowing your children to be on social media. Specifically, also in their younger teen years, absolutely shouldn't be on social media. There is too much over there that can influence them down the wrong roads. And as you can see, we're already dealing with a society that's dealing with major mental problems because of social media, right? Not only because of their addiction to it, not only because of the way they feel when they see other fake people putting out lives that they actually don't live, right? But the fact that they feel that they need to keep up with the Joneses and they need to look as pretty as this and they need to that kind of, and kids are very impressionable, specifically young teenagers are super impressionable, right? So it's very easy to indoctrinate them into bullshit, and it's very easy to get them sort of like swindled into terrible things, into hedonistic things, and into decadences, and to follow their temptations and things like that. I genuinely believe that social media should only be allowed for kids to access when they are 18, and it needs to be verified by an ID. Has to be verified by an ID. Your login requirements should be your name, your surname, your email address, your age, and your ID number. And that gets verified through a database. If you are not 18, you cannot access you cannot access social media. I honestly think that they should do that, because young kids who are super impressionable are being completely sucked in to this fake world, right? And like I say, they're following these fake elites, and they're following these fake movements, and they're following all of these things because they want to be part of something. They want the adulation for something. It's not even for the movement itself. It's just, I need to be part of something that somebody else is part of, right? Even if it means they do nothing in it. So if it means I just put a flag in my bio or that kind of thing, you know what I mean? That means that I'm a good person now, right? No, it doesn't mean that, right? You're not pounding the pavement and doing activism the way they actually used to do activism, right? Black people got their freedom through real, powerful, strong activists that pounded the pavement, right? And so did feminists, and so did gay people, right? That was real activism. Now it's just gone so far off left field now, right? That all of those movements has turned to just adulation of just for myself. It's turned to these narcissistic games of putting yourself above other people, right? And it's like all of their sort of doctrines are convoluted and contradictory to each other and things like that. They don't even know what they stand for. As long as they stand for something, they make it seem like, oh look, I'm a good person. I'm a good person because I stand with you, right? Whether they really stand with you or not makes no damn difference, right? They're not going to pull anything out of their own pocket to stand with you, right? It's amazing. It's like even with immigration laws and things like that, it's like, cool, okay, well let's put an immigrant in your home. No, not in my home. No, put them somewhere else. I just stand with them. Do you know what I mean? The same with reparations things. It's like, I don't know, we should pay for reparations. Okay, cool. Well, let's take 30% out of your salary every single month. Out of your salary, you'll pay your normal taxes, and then we're going to pay a reparations tax. As a white person, we'll pay a reparations tax, and we'll take 30% out of your salary for reparations, and we're going to give it to them. Not a fuck. The majority, 99.9% of those people who stand with these groups and stand with these kind of things are going to be like, no. Somebody else must pay that. That's the great lie that we're telling everybody, right? Is we all want to be good people, and we all want to do the right thing, but in terms of actually doing it, somebody else has to do that, right? Somebody else has to sort out, somebody else's money needs to go to this, and somebody else's time needs to go to this. And so you need to be able to put these people somewhere else, not in my house. Do you know what I mean? And that's just how things are going today, right? That's just, it's not to say that there aren't little fringes of realism in some of these activist groups, but for the most part, I'd say that they've all gone down very, very dark roads and inconsequential to anything that they're trying to purportedly achieve, essentially. But that's my viewpoint. I know I'm gonna get people be like, no, I'm a good person. Yeah, man. Like, yeah, I'm sure you are, man. I'm sure you're great. Let's
Time in her life she felt ugly. So Araya stopped eating to lose weight. She spent her dinner money on some makeup for her face. But no matter how much she lost or how much she bought, she was never good enough, or so she thought. Araya felt she could never be loved. She started cutting her wrists and hiding her scars with gloves. At 16, an anorexic beauty queen, she collapses in a puddle of her tears and blood. Cause she never felt enough. She never felt enough. Your sellers told this lie that we must buy to keep in touch.
100%. I completely agree with what he's saying over here. I agree with what he's saying over here. It's 100% correct. Right? But these, going back to the weak people, people, these are the people that these other groups take advantage of. They take advantage of weak people. These are the people that they want to suck into their thing, because they're easy to indoctrinate. They're easy to mold. They're easy to suck into an ideology. All right? And they suck, and the majority of the ideologies they're sucking into is not good for them, because the ideologies are remove all of the guardrails from your life, become completely secular. There shouldn't be any guardrails. There shouldn't be any rules to your existence. You should be able to go and chase whatever you want to chase, good or bad, right? You can become whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can, there's nothing. You don't need to listen to your parents. You don't need to listen to wise people. You just need to follow your temptations and your decadences. The fact that you've been in the world for like 12 years or 13 years and you know nothing about the world, you know nothing about the real evils of the world, right? They're telling you not to listen to the wisdom of the elders, right? They're actually telling us that kids are smarter than older people. Kids are idiots, okay? They are idiots. And I know some people are going to be, oh my God, how you said kids are idiots, okay? You were an idiot when you were a child. I was an idiot when I was a child. Children are stupid, right? And only through their growing up in their wisdom and learning and trials and errors, right, do they gain wisdom, and that they realize what is right and wrong. They realize that how the real world works and things like that. And it's great, but the one thing you got to love about children is that you're always going to get the big hearts, and you're always going to get, they want to follow because they're so filled with passion and tenacity, and you got to give it to them, right? But if you don't contain that, if you don't put guardrails on that same passion, can easily run off the road and go into territories that are just going to destroy it. And 99% of the time, if you don't put guardrails for children, that's exactly what's going to happen. They just run off into they come out of their rails, they go off into the ether, and they just destroy their lives, right? But what society is telling you to do today is to allow them to do that. They should do that. They should drop their moralities, right? They should drop their ethics. They should drop their discipline, because they can just be whatever they want to be, whenever they want to be, and things like that, right? And you shouldn't have a say in it, because if you don't, you're not affirming them, and you're trapping them, and you're this and you're that, and that kind of vibe. And those are the people that are taking advantage of children like this and sucking them in to an ideology that's meant to make them feel better about themselves, but they are just feeling worse about themselves. Because part of being a functioning human being in society is adhering to rules, adhering to routines, adhering to disciplines, understanding your role in society. These are major aspects that children need to learn, and we're trying to remove them and being like, let them just go be whatever you want. And then we wonder why there's just an increasing trend of suicide, an increasing trend of this, right? We're not weaponizing them with anything but an ideology, and we're not making them strong and saying, right, part of who you are is not just about you. There's something greater to you. Part of your happiness is your sacrifice and accountability to others as well. Your obligation to society, and not just your own temptations, and not just your own narcissistic views, and not just your own feelings and thought processes. You don't want your kids to sit in this echo chamber of themselves, because when you're consistently looking into yourself, right, and looking at yourself and always looking at yourself, right, in that narcissistic way, right, you just lose touch with the real world, and you will forever be unhappy. Part of being happy is sacrifice. It's obligation. It's accountability. It's responsibility. That's what actually makes a fully functioning human being. But if you're only chasing everything that you do in your life is for your own pleasures and temptations, that is only going to last so long. And those are all just small vices that make you happy. And eventually you will just be miserable the entire time and you will not know why. And they don't tell you. And those are the weak that they prey on. So that's why it is important to make your children stronger. Right? Make them anti-fragile, because we're living in a world of evil people, and they are gonna come for your kids with veiled compassion and destroy them because they don't feel good about themselves. They want them to be another piece in the domino run, because they already are that piece in that domino run.
We can never buy enough, never buy enough. All the riches in the world can't buy a sense of self-love. Funny how you act surprised when depression's levels rise, when you force feed inadequacy straight into our eyes. Television shows that praise the beautiful people, and talent competitions that just laugh at the feeble. Billboards, magazines, people turn to plasticine, molded like a factory. We're growing up to fear, feeling ugly. It's lunacy, and not even a community, cause insecurity breeds judgment, judgment breeds hate, no unity. And hierarchy based upon aesthetics is what makes a kid in school get bullied for genetics. And I felt so ugly growing up. The way that I look sometimes got me beaten up. I mean, what the fuck sort of culture do we live in when we're defined by the shape of our face?
It's never changed. It's never changed. And every single society has asked that question: what sort of culture do we live in? Right? If you actually look back, just like, the crazy thing is we tend to think that we're like we're these like sort of barbaric people today, when we're not, right? We're very quickly trying to sort of like destroy everything and get back there, right? But if you just go back in history and see how people lived then, and see how like terrible and miserable life was just 120 years ago. Just 120 years ago, the majority of the population was dead poor, was dirt poor. They had nothing, right? Fast forward 120 years and the majority of the world, right, is like pushed out of poverty and is at least able to feed themselves, right? We have got huge advances in medicine, huge advances into technology that's allowing people to live longer, allowing people to live better, greater conveniences, greater privileges, greater comforts, and all of that. Like, the way we've progressed is massive. If you think times are bad now, times were way worse 120 years ago. Way worse. Right? There was only like a very small percentage of people who were somewhat privileged. Right? Now there is a massive percentage of people who are privileged. Right? There's a whole middle class who are privileged, which was pretty much non-existent back in the day. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yes, I completely understand that, there are shameful things to society, but there are shameful things to humanity. Humanity today is doing far less barbaric things and far worse things to each other than we did back in the day, right? Because of our progression, because of the way we built our laws and the way we built our structures and our communities, right? That you can't just go around doing things nonsensically to people and affecting people's lives without there being repercussions or consequences for them. Do you know what I mean? But that's, once again, I'm gonna keep driving this point home. That is the travesty of the human race. If you think it's bad now, it was way worse 100 years ago, and way worse, and worse than that 200 years ago, and worse than that 300 years ago, and worse than that 400 years ago. Right? So yes, society isn't great now. I think we're definitely eroding society at an alarming rate, right? Which you can kind of already start picking apart and seeing the exact same things that happened in history, like the Roman Empire and how it collapsed and how it was the social hedonism and political corruption and economic downfall. We're hitting all of those markers too. Make no mistake. right? But you are never going to eradicate that from society. There are evil people. The reality of the world is that there are evil people and there are good people. And the good people are the ones that are supposed to thwart evil and the strong people are the ones who are supposed to protect the weak. We cannot make everybody weak, right? And shelter everybody from the world, because you will always have the evil people. You need to have the strong people. And this is the reason why the honest man always pays the heaviest price in a lawful society, right? Is because you cannot afford an honest man to take the law into his own hands. There needs to be laws in place for that. There needs to be justice and procedures for those kind of things. We can't go back into a society where the mob rule is what governs the society. You can't have that, because then we go back into barbarism. Laws are damn important, and that's the reason why the honest man pays the heaviest price, is because you don't want to turn the honest man bad. You don't want to turn the honest man bad. So if somebody kills someone in your family, right, and then you go out and seek them and kill them, you go to jail too, right? Although it's like that is justice, like what you did was justice, like the person deserved it. Yes, but a society cannot allow the honest man to turn evil, because then you lose society. The honest man will always pay the heaviest price, and they do that for a reason. They do that for a reason, because when you keep the honest man honest, right, you have a balanced society. And when you keep strong men strong, you have a system of justice that can come into play for those who want to harm the weak. It's super important, right? We can't just make society weak. It'll never work, right? So yeah, strength is absolutely everything, and your ability to control it is absolutely everything. It's the entire doctrine of your martial arts sort of disciplines. The entire doctrine of it is make yourself incredibly dangerous, and then do not use it until you absolutely have to, right? Use it only when necessary. That is how you channel it. But it's important to be dangerous and then peaceful. Okay, let's go.
Living when we're defined by the shape of our face, when we're ashamed by the size of our waist, when we're imprisoned by the form that we take. And so we keep buying and spending. That's just how this story goes. You build us up just to knock us back down, and we just keep falling.
Like Dominoes.
Like Dominoes.
Sure. Brilliant. I love, this is what I love about Ren's music. And it's not, I didn't disagree with anything that he said there. I actually agreed with all of it. Correct. Right? I'm just filling in my particular points and my particular views in all of this, essentially, because it is a lot more nuanced. It's not just like, okay, this is a weak person, and yes, this is how society is building us. Society is building us to be weak. Society is building us to be all-consuming, right? They want to monetize us. They want to monetize our eyeballs. They want to monetize our scrolling, and it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad for us. They don't care, right? It's all about greed, and it's all about money, right? And it's all about whether they can use you as a tool for a political agenda. Even the more reason to ensure that children are brought up strong, right? Because you've got these people, and worse off than before, because before you just had the bullies, right? You had the bullies that would bully you, and you know, and it was terrible and that kind of thing. That was that thing. Now, you don't only have the bullies. Now you've got the ones that are even worse than the bullies. You've got the people who come at you with compassion, the psychological manipulative play, and they try and draw you in and suck you into an ideology through compassion, right? Because of your weakness. They're trying to be like, here is where you get accepted. And all you're doing is you're just getting sucked into another line of dominoes. And whether you get up from that, nobody knows. and whether your parents will be allowed to take you out of that, very quickly diminishing. It's all the more reason to grow up children and to grow up people strong. Because the world will chew you up and spit you out without a care for you or anyone in your sphere. They don't care. It's all narcissism, it's all greed, and it's all for their own interests. And if they can consume you and then spit you out, for as long as you are a tool for their agenda, that's perfectly fine. As long as, and for the moment you are not a tool for their agenda, or you have a change of heart, they become the bullies to you. They throw you out of their own community. It's operating like mafias. We've got lines of literally mafia and cult driven ideologies today. And that's why it is important, once again, for the 30th time, to make people stronger, because the weak depend on it. I love you all. Please stay safe, yourself. I'll catch you in the next one.